introduce a keynote speaker. This year we're doing things a bit different, so if you're expecting a highly technical presentation, that's not going to happen. The theme this year is healthcare, and over the past 12 months we formed a formal healthcare group within the CE Society. The initiative for this came from our Berlin conference. 2 years ago, the general chair was a lady. She was a mechatronics engineer, is a mechatronics engineer, and specializes in rehabilitation. And so she brought to our conferences healthcare in Berlin. And it was interesting, as we sort of started the ICC Berlin, we went to the press, and the press told us more or less to get lost and weren't interested in our conference. But in the year that we actually put up healthcare as a theme, the press started knocking on our door and came to us and generated a lot of interest. And so subsequent to our conference series, we were focusing more and more on healthcare. And I think this is the first time here in Las Vegas that healthcare is the main theme. So Professor Chin-Moi Chow is from the Faculty of Medicine, University of Sydney. Her specialty is, she has threefold specialty. She is specialist in exercise, nutrition, and sleep. And I think she has something else about thermal comfort or something like that. So she's a diverse range of stuff. And she's the founder of the Delta Sleep Research Unit at the University of Sydney. So she'll give us a different perspective. What we actually did this year, or last year, 2014, is, and Professor Chin-Moi was the chair of our healthcare summer school, and we got a lot of different disciplines of healthcare come together and share their experiences or their needs, if they need help and assistance from the electronics community. So that was a very interesting thing, and Professor Chin-Moi will also talk a bit about that here, how it relates to electronics or where electronics can be useful. And the idea here is to bridge a gap. We're developing electronic products, but we don't understand what the needs are in the healthcare industry. And the healthcare people are struggling along, need assistance with equipment, but they don't understand the electronics. So we're trying to bridge this gap here within the CE Society with various events. So rather than talk a lot, I'll hand over to Professor Chin-Moi Chow and let her talk a bit about healthcare.
Professor Chin-Moi Chow insists that it's not enough just to talk about health, but also it's about time to do something healthy, okay? So what we are going to do, we are going to exercise for 2 minutes. So first of all, why don't you get up? All of you, get up.
This is new.
And sit down.
Thank you, Nahum. And thank you for your introduction, Stephen. Good morning, everybody. Let me, first of all, express my gratitude to Stephen Moser, who introduced me to IEEE and CES, and also for facilitating networking with you. I also like to warmly thank Stephen, Sharon Ping, and the organizing committee for inviting me to speak at this meeting. This is a unique opportunity to address an important task, to explore and meet the needs of older adults, and an important opportunity for you to contribute to this quest. I just want to introduce you to Sydney, the beautiful city where I come from, with its signature landscape of the Opera House. Now, do I have a pointer? Okay, here it is, the Opera House, and also the Harbour Bridge. This is the fireworks display on New Year's Eve 2014. The two pictures below, the first one is the quadrangle building of the University of Sydney. And the bottom one is the Cumberland campus, where I conduct teaching and research. This morning, I would like to explore with you some novel ideas for better living in older adults. The clock on aging is slowing. This is a global phenomenon. Growth rates of the oldest segment of the population will accelerate over the next 20 years. This is because the baby boomer generation enters old age. Now, you are a statistic on this graph if you are a baby boomer, and you may be the younger baby boomer. So slowing down aging, in fact, put a lot of pressure on healthcare in relation to government spending on aged care, age pension, and health, at least in the context of Australia. So we now know that there are new technologies that meet the needs of the aging societies. And currently, we already have e-health and e-medicine. Are there ways to keep us youthful? Dr. Elizabeth Blackburn and her colleagues received the 2009 Nobel Prize for their work on telomeres. Telomeres are the caps, the red things here, at the ends of the genetic materials, DNA. Telomeres protect the genetic code and prevent the DNA molecules from uncoiling. As a normal process of aging, these telomeres shorten. And it is thought that stress can speed up the shortening of these telomeres, especially in immune cells. So when these telomeres become so short and stumpy, they no longer are able to protect the DNA code. What this means is that the cell programs itself to die. So if this were the case, we should alleviate or reduce stress. How do we do that? Now, in a recent study by this group, they found that women who slept well, who exercised, as well as who ate a balanced diet, in fact, were protected from stress-induced telomere shortening. So this takes us to the next, all of the slides that to come about exercise and a little bit about sleep, but I will not have time to focus on nutrition and dietary intake. So how do we define successful aging? According to the biomedical as well as psychosocial models, successful aging is about an absence of disease, quality sleep, it's about good cognitive function, our brain working properly, it's about independent physical function, as well as life satisfaction. So first of all, let's briefly look at what happens as we grow older with our sleep. Older people tend to wake up, go to bed too early and waking up too early. And they have difficulty falling asleep, staying asleep, as well as being able to get back to sleep after an awakening. And this is translated to an increased proportion of time that is awake during the nocturnal sleep period. Furthermore, they tend to have lighter sleep and more light sleep and less deep sleep. And they also have reduction in rapid eye movement sleep. Some of you may have heard about Rem sleep. This is the period when you do a lot of dreaming. The reason that you think you dream a lot during Rem sleep is because Rem sleep is abundant just prior to waking. And you can only remember your dreams if you have woken up from your sleep. And that's why Rem sleep is known to be the dreaming state of sleep. Now, of course, during the night, if you had not slept well, you have sleep fragmentation, it means that during the day, you're going to be sleepy. And consequently, older adults tend to nap a great deal during the daytime. The number of centenarians is growing at the rapid rate of approximately 8% per year. So if that were the case, we ask the question, do they still live independently? And what is their brain function like? What's their cognitive function like? In fact, according to this study, if you look at it, for the centenarians, only 15% lived independently. They're able to do their own cooking, do their own washing, dress themselves, etc. But 55% were partially dependent on others for normal living, and 29% were totally dependent. What this means is that in order for us to, if we do live to a ripe old age, we want to be physically independent. So what can you do about that? What you need is to continually keep yourself fit. And how do you do that? Exercise. Okay. In terms of cognitive function, they found that only 6% of these centenarians had normal cognitive function. 36% had mild cognitive impairment, and 56% had impaired cognitive function. What this tells us is that we need to use our brain all of the time into our old age until we no longer live in this world. So we need to stimulate our thinking, stimulate our brain at all times. There are 3 strong predictors of poor health and functional dependence. One is bone loss and skeletal muscle wasting. And obviously, you've heard about osteoporosis. As people grow old, their bone becomes more porous. And what this means is they are prone to fracture. A person who falls, they may have a hip fracture, and it's really bad news to have a hip fracture, because often people die weeks or months following a hip fracture due to bed rest. So we don't want that. And what this means is keep exercising until at all times. And the other thing is, with aging, there is decreased cardiovascular fitness. I'm going to look at that briefly with you shortly on the next slide. And then cognitive decline, I'm going to go over that with you as well. So with cardiovascular fitness, some of you may know that that is defined by the maximal oxygen consumption, or VO2 max. Let me briefly take you through this graph. It's fairly straightforward. On the horizontal axis, you can see that's on workload. With increasing workload, that means you're exercising harder and harder. And with increasing workload, you also observe an increasing amount of oxygen taken up by your body, because as you exercise, you require oxygen by the cells, particularly your muscle cells. Now, the gist of this slide is that at any given work rate, let's say looking at the highest workload in wards, at a given work rate, at this work rate, notice that the younger person consume far more oxygen, their body consume more oxygen compared to the centenarians or the older adults. They consume far less oxygen. So the amount of oxygen that you can consume means your level of fitness. So here, the younger people are a lot fitter than the older people. So with cardiovascular fitness, that drops by about 20%, 10 to 20% every 10 years, between the ages of 50 to 75 years. So if you are a baby boomer, it means that your cardiovascular fitness is going to drop gradually over time. There's decrease in lung function, your capacity to breathe, and also there's a reduction in blood flow as well as cardiac output. This is the volume of blood ejected by your heart every minute. And obviously, your cardiac output is important because the heart ejects blood to all parts of your body in order to supply oxygen to your body cells. There is also a reduction in muscle diffusion capacity. And what this means is the transfer of oxygen and carbon dioxide between muscles and blood that capacity is reduced. And obviously with aging, we lose a lot of muscle mass. Now beware, as you grow older, you start to lose weight. You might think, oh, that's fantastic, I'm thinner now. But do you know what it is? In fact, what you are losing would be your muscle mass. Be aware of that. Because without muscles, your joints are less protected. So in a fall, with more muscles, it means that the injuries that is incurred would be far, far less after a fall or during a fall. Okay? So we're going to show you a series of very short videos on resistance training or weightlifting. With aging, there is deterioration in our physical function. So deterioration means that the person becomes more frail, there's increased risk of falls, as well as impaired mobility. And this means that you will not be able to do independent living. So there are 4 domains that could contribute to these characteristics. The first one is aging per se. Second one is being institutionalized, because inside a nursing home, there may not be the opportunity to be exercising and to stimulate your brain power. The other one is skeletal muscle disuse. And what contributes to this? First is the age-associated drop in muscle mass, and also the fact that you don't exercise, reduced physical activity. The next domain is nutrition deficiency. 2 factors contribute to this. One is as we age, there is a reduction in appetite, and also at the fundus, the top part of the stomach, the ability to stretch the fundus of the stomach is reduced. So that makes you have less appetite. And this can contribute to nutritional deficiency. Furthermore, growth hormone, which is a very important hormone that regulates a lot of functions in terms of growth, in terms of repair of cells, the secretion of these or the release of these growth hormone is also reduced with age. And finally, with aging, if a person suffers from chronic diseases such as hypertension, diabetes, or depression, these chronic illnesses can also contribute to physical frailty, etc. Here, I want to emphasize that particularly with your muscles, use them or lose them. I've got an inspiring video to show you of a Chinese woman. The gist or the key to this video or the message to this video is that you can begin your physical training anytime throughout your lifespan. You don't need to start when you are young. Even if you want to start now, you can do so. However, I just want to give you some warning too. If you have never exercised before, start at a lower level, build up your program gradually so that you do vigorous exercise when you are capable of doing so.
An 81-year-old woman in southeast China's Fujian province can do more than 100 press-ups in just 5 minutes. Liq gets up at 5 a.m. every day to do press-ups and sit-ups. After eating breakfast, she goes outside to shoot some hoops. After making 72 free throws, she'll usually do some pull-ups on a tree near the basketball court. She also does some neck exercises while hanging upside down from some exercise equipment. She's even created her own exercise that she calls the roly-poly roll. In this exercise, she sits on the ground with her feet and hands clutched together, doing 100 rolls before getting up. She believes this exercise can help her improve her muscle and bone strength. She also volunteers to teach others about physical fitness. Many of her neighbors have joined in her exercise routine.
I enjoy playing sports. It's a way for me to overcome things that upset me. Exercising makes me happy.
Li used to live in a harsh rural area in northwest China before moving to Fuzhou, capital of Fujian, at the age of 56. Li helped take care of her granddaughter until she reached the age of 68, when her granddaughter had gotten older and left the house. This gave Li plenty of time to work on her physical fitness. Having just celebrated her most recent birthday in July, the woman is known in her neighborhood for her love of sports.
My little girl went off to high school, so I had the chance and time to do something interesting. I learned to play badminton and shuttlecock, as well as jump rope. But I wanted to learn more, so I started practicing basketball. Although I didn't even have a basket in my old neighborhood, I was able to take some tree branches, using those to make a basket and practice under the trees.
And I'm going to show you some weightlifting exercises. You will see that some of this equipment is not suitable for people of my stature and probably not suitable for older adults either. You would have noticed that without this punching pad, I would not have been able to reach the footrest.
Start going.
This is a hip muscle training machine. Basically, if you do that, that will help strengthen your muscles and will protect your pelvic bone. this next one exercises your calf muscles, just over there, behind the shin. Muscles. So it's exercising the muscles, the bellies, muscle belly here.
Okay, start.
I've moved the seat in recline to the most forward position, and yet it's still not good enough, so I have to use a towel pad to give it a little bit of a
It's
booster.
okay. Yeah, sorry.
This is Liq Extension. Basically, you are exercising your quadriceps, the quads. And if the load is fairly heavy, at the end of the exercise, you would feel a burning sensation in your quads. And that's good. This is a squat. Basically, you're squatting and you're using all of your lower leg muscles. And I squatted with a 30 kilogram barbell. The rod itself is 20 kilograms worth, and then you've got the two 5 kilogram ones on the side, and I weigh 38.5 kilos. Yes, I had just came back from Malaysia. I had not exercised for over a month, so just getting back to it. Use it or lose it. So you need to train regularly. Okay, this is the last one. Now notice that the height of the steps is pretty large, probably a bit too high for me. So it means that for me to step on it is a lot of hard work. So for older people, maybe this equipment need to be modified somewhat. You can do 1,000 steps in either 10 minutes, 20 minutes, but it's extremely hard work, I can tell you that. So stair climbing is very important for older people because it means that it allows you to be able to stand up from a chair without having to rely on pushing with your hands or your arms. Okay. So how can technology help older adults to improve fitness level? One is perhaps we need a new generation of resistance or weight equipment, gym equipment, and perhaps new dance-happy videos for older adults. I know we've got Wii Fit and all that, but they're not catered for older adults. Okay, now we move from physical capacity, physical functioning, to cognitive functioning. With aging, our cognitive capacity decreases. Decline in sensory visions of vision, our sight becomes poorer as we grow older. We become hard of hearing, and also in terms of our taste buds become less sensitive. So things need to be a little bit sweeter or more salty in order to taste good. Older people tend to be more forgetful and decrease ability to maintain focus, also reduce speed of processing, decreased problem-solving capacity. And these 5 elements essentially put older adults at risk of losing the ability to live independently. In other words, people become, they suffer from dementia or Alzheimer's disease. So use it or lose it. I'm referring, in this case, use your brain or you lose it. Same as with your muscles, use it or lose it. What are the remedies for cognitive decline? It is fortunate that there are at least 2 remedies that could prevent cognitive decline. One is physical training. Even very low to moderate levels of physical activity can convey a robust 35% reduction in the risk for cognitive decline. And in terms of cognitive training, computer-based exercises such as practice in memory, attention, fine motor coordination, visual, as well as auditory processing. All of these would help you maintain your brain power. And I'll have a couple of pieces of scientific evidence to show you that, yes, indeed, that is true. So in this slide, what we are showing is that if you walk round the block, a block is about 160 meters. For those people who walk between 0 to 22 blocks versus those who did 113 to 672 blocks per week, those people who walk a lot more, their cognitive function is a lot better than those people who did not. Here's a 10-year follow-up study. The slide is a little bit busy, but don't worry about it. I'm going to take you through it very quickly. So the average age of the participants was around 74 years. And these participants, nearly 3,000 of them, were divided into 4 groups. One group underwent reasoning training, the other one memory training, and one speed training. It does? Oh, it's lost, is it? No, it's not. Oh, good. Okay, thank you. And of course, if you get them to do these computer training about memory, reasoning skills and all that, how are you going to measure their performance? So you measure they have special computer performance on the respective skills. In addition, they also thought, okay, if you were to do this sort of training, how would that be translated to your daily living? Does it work better? For example, looking after your accounts, remembering things of your daily life, etc. So let's look at the results. Now, over here, you can see that this is the baseline. So you can see from baseline to the first 3 years is a plateau. That means after training for 6 weeks to 8 weeks, all of their cognitive functions stay pretty stable for 3 years. But at the 5th year, can you see that? I don't want to touch the screen now. Over there, go across to the 5th year, year 5. See, I'm no good with that. Anyway, there were declines in these skills. And by the 10th year, the control group had declines, the highest decline, followed by the memory group, reasoning group, and finally the speed group. What this is telling us is that we certainly need to continue to work our brain in order to maintain your cognitive function. When life is dull, or when things don't work the way we anticipated, or when there are lots of problems to solve, or when there are aches and pains, that is when we become philosophical. And we may ask the question, what is the meaning of life? Now, in the science fiction by Douglas Adams, The Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy, there is the supercomputer named Deep Thought. And of course, Deep Thought was asked this question, what's the meaning of life? And Deep Thought deliberated for 7.5 million years and finally came up with the answer. And Deep Thought stated, the answer to the ultimate question of life, the universe, and everything is the number 42. Okay, now I ask you the question. Why did you think that Deep Thought came up with this answer? Anyone? Okay, the answer is computer malfunctioning. Okay, we're going to, this is something, I don't know where the source came from, but I received it in my WhatsApp. The meaning of life. At birth, you are the top priority. At 10, academic excellence is the top priority. At 20, dating is the top priority. At 30, a good career is the top priority. At 40, keeping your body in shape is top priority. At 50, beating others at mahjong. This is one of the games played by many Chinese and Asian people. It's a good game. It makes you think. And at 60, staying virile is top priority. At 70, remembering something is top priority. At 80, moving around is top priority. At 90, knowing directions is top priority. At 100, having your portrait on the wall is top priority. Okay. So if we do live to a ripe old age, we would want to live independently. And in Australia, the average life expectancy for men is 78 and women 84. So obviously, at some stage, we have to leave the world. So in fact, there are surviving spouses and partners, unmarried singles, divorced men and women. So there are many, many challenges for people to live independently because of physical frailty, cognitive decline, purpose in life, social and emotional loneliness. So if we fill a glass to mid-level of the glass, how do you see the glass? Is it half full or half empty? When things are good, we perceive it as half full. But when things are bad, we see it as half empty. So as people grow older, they often look at life with pessimism. So how do you promote a happy outlook in older adults? Are you able to change their mindsets? So I'm proposing for you to think about ways of doing this through your expertise in electronic engineering. Let's do a little bit of needs analysis of older adults. We need to maintain physical fitness and brain fitness. We need to promote quality sleep. We need to promote a balanced diet. We need to give hope and reason for living. We also need to promote social interaction, remembering that these older people are very, very lonely. If you can achieve all of this, this would give life satisfaction, rather than an old person thinking that I've lived my life already, there's nothing else for me, I should just leave this world. But it's not true. If we give them a purpose to live, they can continue to go on for a lot longer. So, carrots for the golden years? Can you come up with something special that stimulates life for all people who want to go out with a big bang? the last hurrah. How about the Sydney Bridge climb? Practice lucid dreaming. Are you aware what lucid dreaming is? Now, in fact, when you are aware that you are dreaming, you are doing lucid dreaming. And that is a very important therapy. People with a lot of horrific nightmares, they have to practice lucid dreaming and conjure up a very good story so that they can alter their nightmarish dreams to something that is more positive. So that sort of therapy is practiced particularly in Europe. And what about an oldies rock band, mahjong team competition, or poker games within a nursing home? The prize winners can be awarded by the nursing home because, as I mentioned, mahjong is actually good for older people. You have to think about it, you have to do scoring, so as long as there's no monetary component in it. Otherwise, they may lose all of their old age pensions. And the focus for your group is interactive video games, and I'm going to address this on the next slide. Carrots for the golden years. How about coming up with an interactive video games that promotes physical and brain fitness and sleep, that are crafted with a purpose in life, that contain rewards that are visionary and creative, that stimulates the ups and downs of life, but with inspirational and motivational plots. Employ technology that is used by Wii Dance, Xbox Kinect, Sims, as well as Audition. In fact, a combination of all of these. So the technology is there, but they've not been integrated into one. Expand an untapped target market from youth to include older adults, because this is a multi-billion-dollar industry. So if we intend to create technology for older adults, what is the rate of uptake of digital life and adoption? I'm sure many of you would be asking the same question. Even if we produce the video, interactive video game, are they going to use it? You bet they would. So this is the most recent research by an American company, Pew Research Center. They show that, in fact, these older people, they are not too far behind. Okay, here, 77% use cell phone, 59% use internet, and 47% use broadband. Quoting the research center, younger, higher income, and more highly educated seniors use the internet and broadband at rates approaching or even exceeding the general population. Internet use and broadband adoption each drops off, however, dramatically around the age of 75. So in other words, people are adopting digital technology more and more. And remembering that you've got the young baby boomers, they are already conversant in this technology. So finally, carrots for the golden years. We need your input. We need a team with technological expertise, novel ideas, themes, as well as outstanding storyboards. Put together such an interactive game, video game, and I would be the first one to purchase it. Thank you.
Okay, I'll talk loud. Are there any other consumer electronics devices that you would recommend people use to keep their fitness? You know, like Fitbit or some other stuff. Would you comment anything else?
Yes, certainly.
one,
You can
two.
use Fitbit, and there are polar heart rate monitors, and that monitors your heart rate, monitor the number of steps that you move. That may be motivational. So in fact, as a start, you do a bit of walking, and when you're good at it, with all the gadgets, you can record how you're progressing each day, each week, and each month.
Did you mention also dancing?
Yes, definitely. Like WeFit, but I must say that the WeFit, there's a little platform that you stand on because they need to record all the movements, everything, balance, etc. that you do. But I would suggest that be modified into a bigger, flat pad rather than that little platform, because older people may fall off the platform or they may trip. So a mat that is flat. There's one of the games where you dance to the music, those sort of big pads. Yeah, so that would be highly recommended.
Another question here?
Yes.
This is a question and a comment. My name is Joe DeCure. I'm on the Board of Governors here in the Consumer Electronics Society. I've given keynotes myself. I really want to get your presentation because I want to forward it to a gentleman named Nolan Bushnell. Nolan Bushnell, in my opinion, started the video games industry. He's still around. He has a company called Brain Rush, and their plan is games for old people like what I'm becoming. Okay? So I want to connect him to you as soon as possible.
Certainly. Yes,
I'll trade you cards
I will be happy for him
Excellent.
to have a copy of my slides.
I'm sorry, I think we have time for a couple additional questions, but I just want to make a comment myself. I was struck by the slide about the video games, talking about immersive experience, my words, and a reward and that sort of thing. I just hope the casino executives don't get a hold of that, because you walk in any almost building here, and they will tell you there's immersive experience with rewards. But I'm not sure that's the kind we were thinking of.
In fact, when they program the poker machines, etc., I'm sure they use the variable ratio for win and losses so that they get you hooked on the game. We've done that in psychology.
They actually have a really impressive army of highly intellectual psychologists who are involved in designing these things, and there's a very interesting book out about the addiction of these machines that I'll see if I get information on. Time for maybe one more question if somebody has another question or comment. If not, Stefan, I think, has a few remarks, and thanks to our speaker.
So this is the new direction that we're sort of moving into in our industry. As you all know, healthcare is a growing area, and whilst this was not sort of what you may have expected as an engineering presentation, it was a more medical, healthcare type presentation, and it's supposed to stimulate. And if you look at there, I think you can already see a few ideas for future research and so on. And as I mentioned before, Professor Chin-Moi Chow put together the summer school in healthcare last month in Sydney at Sydney University. And as a result of a 3-day summer school, we immediately came up with 2 projects to follow up, which we're doing next month in February at the University of New South Wales in Sydney on vision aids for handicapped people. And also what's very important is one of the outcomes of the workshop was, not outcome from the workshop, but what some of the researchers from the University of New South Wales pointed out. We're talking about human interface and human design, and we never consider older people or people with visual impairments. And the research showed that standard consumer products are almost impossible to operate by people with visual impairments. And they proposed some steps for human interface, how to improve the operation of consumer products. For example, buttons cannot be seen by people with visual impairments or by elderly and so on. So there are steps and opportunities for us to move forward, improve our product, but also this is a new way to move forward. This is where our industry is going to grow. So I'd like to thank Professor Chin-Moi Chow for her contribution here, and I think this is probably the first of many more to come in our series of conferences where we're going to work together with the medical field. So I'd like to make a small presentation to Professor Chin-Moi Chow as appreciation for her contributions to our conference. Thank you.
Thank you.